What happens when a rich husband thinks his pregnant wife is too isolated, too dependent, and too broken to fight back? In Sarah S. case, everything changes. A divorce hearing becomes a legal earthquake as abuses, hidden assets, murder evidence, and long-buried furry family secrets come crashing into the open. This is not just a custody battle or a messy breakup. It is a woman reclaiming her life in the same courtroom where they tried to shame her.
A woman, 8 months pregnant, was slapped in court by her husband's lover. That moment set off a chain reaction that uncovered a murder, revealed the judge was her long-lost father, and ruined a millionaire's life. This is the story of Sarah Mitchell, and you are about to learn why 20 million people call it the slap that changed everything. Before we continue, please subscribe and turn on notifications so more people can hear this amazing story. Courthouse, giant doors groaned open, their sound echoing the ache in Sarah Mitchell's heart. At 28 years old and very pregnant, she moved with care, guarding the life she carried inside. The fabric of her simple maternity dress was stretched tight over her belly, a huge change from the designer clothes she wore 6 months ago. That felt like another lifetime, back when her marriage seemed perfect. "We can get through this," she whispered, her hand resting on the spot where her baby just kicked. Her unborn son always seemed to feel her stress, moving inside her as if to fight her battles. The long courthouse hallway felt like it was closing in on her, filled with judging stares. Above her, buzzing fluorescent lights threw long, dark shadows across the floor, clicked on the marble, each sound pulling her closer to the confrontation she feared. She had arrived early, hoping to find a quiet moment before the hearing started. Her wealthy ex-husband, Richard, was coming with his lawyer, James Bradley. Bradley was a shark known for wearing a $3,000 suit and hiding money for powerful men. But Sarah had Rebecca Taylor on her side, a strong lawyer who took the case for free after hearing Sarah's story. The benches outside courtroom 3 were empty in the early morning silence. Sarah slowly sat on a hard wooden seat, the baby's weight making her back hurt, closed her eyes and started the breathing exercise from her doctor, Patricia Holbrook. In for 4 counts, hold for 4 and out for 4. Every breath was a small victory over the panic growing inside her. "You are not that naive girl anymore," she thought as the baby moved. "You are a mother. You must be strong." The change was difficult but essential. 6 months ago, a message on Richard's tablet exposed his affair. The woman's name was Madison Cole, but her real name was Madison Williams. She was more than just a mistress. She was a predator who targeted Richard for his wealth. Richard walked right into her trap. Or perhaps he was simply looking for an excuse to leave his young wife. Her phone vibrated. It was a text from Rebecca. The message said, "I am on my way. Do not speak to them until I am there. Be strong." The words were a comfort, but they also reminded her of the fight ahead. This was about more than just money or who would get their child. It was about taking back her life from a man who spent 3 years chipping away at her confidence. Her late mother, Helen, who died 2 years earlier, had called it a foolish crush. "Be careful, my dear," she had warned her. "A man like Richard has other reasons for marrying someone like you." Sarah had not understood at the time. At only 25, she was just out of college, her social work degree collecting dust. Richard had amazed her with private jet trips and fancy parties, pulling her into a life that seemed like a dream. Better world, she once thought. Could not have been more mistaken. The sound of the elevator bell made Sarah's whole body freeze. She knew he had arrived without even looking. Richard walked with a sense of purpose, his heavy footsteps announcing his presence on the entire floor. He stepped out of the elevator in a familiar navy suit with a phone pressed to his ear. He was already taking care of business, treating the divorce like it was just another meeting. Madison followed right behind him, wearing designer shoes that probably cost more than a month of rent. Madison was the opposite of Sarah, tall, thin, and with a harsh kind of beauty that demanded attention. At 35, she walked with the confidence of a person who always got what she wanted, both hands, as if to shield her son from the couple's toxic energy. And it was clear they were a couple. Richard made no attempt to hide it. His arm was wrapped around Madison's waist as she leaned against him. "Well, look what we have here." Madison's high-pitched voice sliced through the quiet hall. "Look who showed up early to play the victim for the judge." Richard ignored the woman he was still married to. He kept talking on his phone as if she were not even there, like a piece of the courthouse furniture. It was a unique kind of cruelty he had perfected. the power to make her feel like she was nothing. Sarah ignored Madison's insult. Dr. Holbrook had told her to become a gray rock, to be so dull that bullies like Madison would get bored and leave her alone, trying to focus on her baby's soft movements. "Oh, do not be that way," Madison sneered, stepping closer. "You must have something to say." A sad plea for Richard to think about his child. "Let me tell you something, honey. He is already excited for our family. Real children, not the little accident you are carrying." Every word they spoke felt like a physical strike, designed to inflict the deepest hurt. Sarah's hands were shaking, but she refused to look at them. She would not allow them the pleasure of seeing her tears. "Madison, that will do," Richard said at last, finishing his phone call. He sounded more entertained than angry. "Save some of that fire for the trial." "Why would I do that?" Madison's laugh was sharp and icy. "She needs to understand her position. She is just a nobody who thought she hit the jackpot." "Well, darling, your winning ticket is worthless." Sarah's eyes began to sting, but she fought back the tears. "Not here, not in front of them." The baby suddenly kicked hard, as if he felt her pain, and she gently rubbed her stomach. "That is more than enough." A new voice cut through the tension. It was strong, self-assured, and somehow recognizable. Sarah raised her head and saw a woman walking toward them with determination. The woman looked to be in her early 30s, with red hair tied back neatly and a fierce look in her eyes. She was dressed in a smart business suit and carried herself with obvious confidence. "And just who do you think you are?" Madison asked, her tone full of contempt. "My name is Emma Patterson," the newcomer stated, stepping directly between Sarah and the couple. "I am an attorney. If you do not move away immediately, you will be facing a lawsuit." Richard's face grew stern. "Patterson, are you related to Judge Patterson?" Emma gave a stiff, cold smile. "You might say that. Now, if you will excuse us, my client has a right to wait for her hearing in peace." "Your client?" James Bradley had shown up, looking every bit the expensive attorney he was. "I was not informed that Mrs. Mitchell had hired a new lawyer. I am acting as a consultant," Emma said smoothly, "and I am currently noting what appears to be the intentional infliction of emotional distress on a pregnant woman. Do you want to continue talking, Ms. Cole, or use your real name, Miss Williams?" "That is right. We know exactly who you are." For a second, the color left Madison's face before she composed herself. "You do not scare me." "You should be scared," Emma answered. "Go on. Every single word you say makes our case stronger." The hallway felt electric with tension. Richard finally seemed to realize the situation was not going their way. He grabbed Madison by the arm and pulled her away. "Come on, this is not worth our time." As they left, Madison gave Sarah one last hateful stare, a silent promise that the fight was not over. The breath she was holding. She turned to the woman who had appeared like a guardian angel. "Thank you so much," she said, her voice just a whisper. Emma's face softened as she sat down next to Sarah. "You do not need to thank me. We are family." Sarah stared at her, confused. "I am sorry, I do not understand." "It is a very long story," Emma said, with a glance at the courtroom doors. "It is a story that includes your mother, Helen Parker, and a father we both share but never knew. For right now, however, we must concentrate on this hearing." The news hit Sarah with the force of an ocean wave. "So you mean we are sisters?" Emma nodded, and her own eyes looked shiny with tears. "Half-sisters. I have been looking for you for several months, right after I found out. I am so sorry I found you in the middle of this mess. But I need you to know, Sarah, you are not alone anymore. You have family now, and we protect our own." Just as Sarah was trying to understand this unbelievable news, Rebecca Taylor arrived, her confident footsteps echoing on the floor. "Sarah, I am here. You okay?" But Sarah's mind was somewhere else. She was looking at Emma, seeing for the first time a familiar shape in her nose, and the way she tilted her head when she was thinking. Suddenly, everything clicked. The baby gave another strong kick, and Sarah gasped. "Sarah, are you all right?" Both lawyers asked together. "I think that was a contraction," Sarah whispered, pressing a hand to the dull, growing ache in her back. "That feels like it is more than just stress," Rebecca observed with a worried voice. "This has been an awful day. I will go and get you some water." Emma was already moving, grabbing a paper cup from the nearby fountain. Just then, the large courtroom doors opened wide and a bailiff appeared. "Mitchell versus Mitchell. Judge Patterson will see you now." A sudden chill went through Sarah. "Judge Patterson. But that judge is our father," Emma added softly. "He is not aware you are his daughter. I wanted to ask for your permission first." Weight of it all suddenly hit Sarah. She was in a divorce hearing with her rich ex and his mistress. The judge was the father she never knew, with her new sister beside her. And on top of it all, Her baby was coming soon. "I am not able to do this," Sarah said, her voice trembling. Emma squeezed her hand with strength. "Yes, you can do this. You have more strength than you know. Our mother would be very proud. You knew her from her letters, and she loved you very much. She would want you to stand up for your child." "Then that is exactly what we are going to do." Rebecca glanced at the two sisters. She sensed there was a deeper story, but kept her composure. "It is time to go inside. You prepared?" Sarah stood up, feeling a bit unsteady. She put one hand on her belly and held tightly to Emma's. "Yes, I am ready." The courtroom was somehow both personal and frightening. Dark wooden walls stretched toward the high ceiling, and sunlight streamed through the windows, making long shadows. An American flag was in the corner like a silent observer. Judge William Patterson sat on the bench, his black robe making him look powerful. He was in his late 50s, with silver hair and sharp blue eyes that saw everything, looking for any sign of family, any proof of Emma's words. "You may all be seated," the judge instructed. His voice held the power of 30 years on the bench. "We will begin the hearing for Mitchell versus Mitchell, docket number 4739. I can see all individuals and their attorneys are here." Richard and Madison sat at a table with their lawyer, James Bradley. Madison had no legal right to be there. Richard, however, was a cruel man. He wanted her there just to make Sarah's suffering worse. Carefully between Rebecca and Emma, her back hurting with every little move. The baby had been active all morning, and the practice pains were now closer together. Focus on Rebecca's opening words. "Your Honor," Rebecca began with complete confidence, "we are here today to decide on a fair division of assets and a custody plan for the child that Mrs. Mitchell is carrying. My client has suffered from severe narcissistic abuse in her marriage, which included financial abuse, emotional games, and cheating." James Bradley jumped to his feet. "Objection, Your Honor. These are wild accusations meant to turn the court against my client," Judge Patterson said without raising his voice. "This is a hearing, not a full trial. I will allow Miss Taylor to make her case. You will get a chance to speak." Rebecca nodded with gratitude and continued. 6 months ago, my client discovered her husband was having an affair. From that moment, he locked her out of their bank accounts, leaving her to rely on friends for help, and started a campaign of harassment meant to break her spirit. "That is a lie," Madison yelled, ignoring the warning look from her lawyer. "She is nothing but a gold digger who got pregnant to trap Richard." The judge slammed his gavel down. "Miss Cole, you are not involved in this case. If you say another word, I will have you removed from my courtroom." Madison's face turned red with anger, but she stayed quiet when Richard touched her arm. Sarah noticed the cold, scheming look in Madison's eyes and felt a shiver of fear. This woman was not just mean. She was dangerous. "Mr. Bradley," the judge said, "you may now present your client's side." James Bradley stood and adjusted his tie, a common habit of his. "Your Honor, my client, Richard Mitchell, has been extremely generous. He has offered Mrs. Mitchell a settlement of $250,000. This is a very fair amount, given that the marriage was short and she did not contribute much financially." "Did not contribute much." Rebecca's voice was like ice. Mrs. Mitchell left her job to help her husband's career. She planned his parties, ran his household, and created the peaceful home he needed to become a success. "She was only a housewife," Bradley replied with a sneer. "That is not exactly a hard job." Emma reached for Sarah's hand under the table and squeezed it for support. Had to bite down on her lip to keep from crying out. Judge Patterson glanced at the papers in front of him. "I see here that Mr. Mitchell's net worth is around $42 million. The amount offered is less than 1% of his wealth." "Your Honor," Bradley answered smoothly, "most of that wealth was acquired before the marriage or from business deals Mrs. Mitchell had no part in." "That is not entirely true," Rebecca cut in. She passed a new folder to the clerk. "We can show that he won several large contracts at social functions my client arranged. Her connections, particularly from her late mother's charity, were vital for Mr. Mitchell's success." Richard laughed out loud with contempt. "That is ridiculous. The only thing Sarah knew how to do was spend my money." "Mr. Mitchell," Judge Patterson warned him, "you will have an opportunity to speak later if required." The hearing continued for a long time as the attorneys debated over money and property. Sarah tried her best to pay attention as her contractions grew stronger and more frequent. This was not a false alarm. She was going into labor, a full 3 weeks early. "Your Honor," Rebecca was saying, We also must discuss custody. Mr. Mitchell has expressed his desire for full custody of the baby. That is correct, Bradley confirmed. My client questions if he is the father and feels Mrs. Mitchell is not emotionally stable enough to be a parent. Not stable. Rebecca's voice was full of disbelief. She has endured his awful treatment for 3 years. Her emotional condition is a direct result of how he treated her. These are extremely serious claims, Judge Patterson said, looking from one table to the other. Mr. Mitchell, do you truly believe you are not this child's father? Richard got to his feet, his face showing no emotion at all. Your Honor, my wife was getting desperate. I am sure she would have a baby with another man just to keep me in this marriage. Sarah gasped, both from his horrible words and the intense pain of another contraction. Emma saw her sister's agony right away. Your Honor, Emma said, standing up. My client requires a short break. Madison also saw Sarah's pained expression, and a cruel smile appeared on her face. She stood up quickly, pushing Richard's hand away. Oh, please, Madison sneered. She is just acting to get attention, just like she has been acting like a victim this whole time. Miss Cole, you will sit down immediately, the judge ordered. But Madison was not listening. She walked straight to Sarah, her expression full of pure anger. You are a worthless user. Do you really think you can get Richard's money? You think that baby will make him stay? Everything seemed to move in slow motion. Madison lifted her arm, and before anyone could react, she slapped Sarah hard across the face. The sound of the slap filled the quiet room, her hands flying to her stomach to shield her baby. Emma grabbed her just before she hit the floor. A pained cry escaped Sarah as a huge contraction hit her, followed by a warm gush of fluid. My water, Sarah yelled. My water just broke. The courtroom descended into chaos. The judge was standing, yelling for security. Rebecca was on her cell phone, dialing 911, her eyes blazing as she looked at Madison. You just hit a pregnant woman in a courtroom, Emma said in a low, threatening voice. You have just destroyed your own life. Color drained from Madison's face when she understood what she had done. I did not want to do that. You made me so angry. Security, place Miss Cole under arrest for assault, Judge Patterson commanded as 2 officers came forward. His expression was furious, his normal calm completely gone. Mr. Mitchell, please control your companion. But Richard just stood still, looking irritated by the interruption. This is all quite dramatic, but I am sure we can continue, he said. Continue. Emma spun around to face him. Your mistress just assaulted your pregnant wife who is going into labor, and you want to continue. She is my ex-wife, Richard stated without any emotion. Or she will be shortly. Sarah cried out as another painful contraction began. They were coming one right after the other, much too fast. The baby, she gasped. Something feels wrong. It is not time yet. Judge Patterson came down from the bench, his professional manner gone. He looked at Sarah with a deep, almost fatherly concern. An ambulance is on its way, he said softly. He then turned to Emma. Take care of your sister. I am not going anywhere, Emma said with resolve. Paramedics rushed to Sarah. Madison was being put in handcuffs. Richard, do something, she shouted. Richard's response sent a chill through the entire room. You are by yourself, Madison. I do not associate with criminals. Madison's stunned expression twisted into raw fury. You are a monster, she hissed. I took care of everything for you. I handled your other wife. You gave me your word, Richard yelled. But his order was completely ignored. Judge Patterson's voice sliced through the noise. Detective Roberts, it seems case just got much bigger. Mr. Bradley, make sure your client stays in town, Detective Michelle Roberts said as she rose from her chair. I am on it, Your Honor. While medics lifted Sarah onto a stretcher, she clutched Emma's hand. Please stay with me. I am so scared. I will not leave you, Emma vowed. We are family, never forget that. Judge Patterson observed them, his expression impossible to read. Miss Patterson, please accompany your client. This court is adjourned. He faced Richard with clear disgust. Mr. Mitchell, I advise you to find a criminal lawyer. You are definitely going to need one. She heard Madison screaming down the hall as officers cuffed her. This is not over. Can't do this to me. I have secrets. I know every single one. Before the ambulance doors shut, the last thing Sarah saw was Emma's firm, reassuring face. Beyond them, Judge Patterson was on the courthouse steps, his robes moving in the wind, his face full of sorrow. The air in the hospital room was thick with the scent of antiseptic and panic. Sarah clutched the cold metal bed rails, her grip so tight her knuckles were pale as a contraction took hold of her. The machines chirped in rhythm with her baby's heart, while nurses looked on with worried eyes. You are doing so well, Emma whispered, gently wiping Sarah's brow with a cool, wet cloth. She had been right there with Sarah since they got here 2 hours ago. Just breathe with the pain. It is too early, Sarah gasped, fighting for air. He should not be here yet. I am not ready. Soon after, Dr. Patricia Holbrook came in, not as a doctor, but as a friend offering support. Need you to hear me, she said calmly and firmly. Your baby is at 37 weeks. That is considered full term. He is ready, and so are you. A strong contraction wrung a cry from Sarah's lips. The ache was more than physical. It was deep in her spirit. It was all happening so fast. The news from Emma, and now this. Her mind was reeling from it all. Where is Rebecca? Through the pulsing pain. She is taking care of things at the courthouse, Emma said. Madison is being charged, and there is a lot of paperwork. She wants you to just think about your baby. The nurse entered to examine her. 7 centimeters, she stated. Things are moving along fast. The doctor will be here soon. After the nurse left, Sarah reached for Emma's hand. I need you to tell me about our father. The story of Judge Patterson. Emma paused for a second. Are you sure you want to get into this now? Think about something other than the pain, please. Emma settled on the edge of the bed, holding Sarah's hand. Our mom, Helen, was with William Patterson for a short time before she met your dad. She was a young court reporter, and he was a brilliant, ambitious lawyer. They loved each other, but his family disapproved. He was not from a rich family. Imagining her mother as a young woman in love, Helen had never mentioned any man except for Sarah's father. She left and never told him about the baby. Emma went on. Relocated, gave birth to me, and was a single mom for 5 years. Then she met your dad, David Parker. They got married, and you were born. I believe she wanted to build the family she never got to have. So why did she never tell me you existed? Her muscles tightening with another pain. Emma coached her through the breathing. Your dad never wanted me in the picture. He put up with me but made it clear I was not his. When they split up, I was 12 and you were 7. The court gave our mom only partial custody of me, and your father was given main custody. He wanted to separate us. Remember you, Sarah said quietly. Mom would talk about an older sister, but Dad claimed she was confused. She was not confused. She was heartbroken. He always sent me letters about you, saying how clever and kind you were, in every school report. After she passed, she left me a box with your whole life inside. Tears rolled down Sarah's damp face. As for our father, Judge Patterson, I learned about him after Mom died. He left a letter explaining it all. I reached out to him 6 months ago. He was stunned but welcomed me with open arms. He is trying to make up for the time we lost. Does he know I exist? Emma shook her head. I planned to tell him, but then I learned about your problems with Richard. I figured you had enough on your plate. I wanted to tell you both after the divorce. The door swung open and a doctor walked in, a man she did not recognize. He was older, with a soft face and gentle eyes. Mrs. Mitchell, my name is Dr. Anderson. Dr. Kumar had an emergency surgery, so I will be delivering your baby. How are you doing? Terrified, Sarah confessed. That is perfectly normal, he said, glancing at her chart. I know today has been difficult, but your baby's heartbeat is strong, and you are doing an amazing job. We are going to take the best care of you and your child. While he checked on her, Sarah's phone vibrated on the table. Emma looked at the message and gasped. What happened? Her voice urgent. It is a message from Rebecca. Madison is confessing. She is telling them everything, even about. Emma stopped. About what? What happened to Richard's other wife? Pushed her down the stairs when she was pregnant. Baby was lost, and the wife took her own life. Madison and Richard covered it all up. Feeling of nausea washed over Sarah. Oh, my goodness. He knew. He knew what she could do, and he still let her near me. Cannot think about that right now, Dr. Holbrook said firmly. Concentrate on your breathing. Concentrate on your baby. But Sarah could not block out the thoughts. The awful pattern was suddenly so clear. Richard chose young, impressionable women, used them, and then threw them away for the next one. Madison was his helper, getting rid of anyone who stood in their way. That could have been me, Sarah whispered in terror. But it was not, Emma said with force. You are here. You are safe. And you are about to meet your beautiful baby. Another contraction came, so powerful that Sarah could not hold back a scream. Dr. Anderson examined her again. 10 centimeters. It is time to start pushing. Following hour was a whirlwind of hard work and overwhelming pain, pushed with every ounce of her energy, with Emma holding one leg and a nurse holding the other. Dr. Holbrook was by her head, guiding her through every single push. Do it, Sarah wept, feeling completely worn out. I have nothing left. Yes, you can, Emma insisted. You made it through Richard. You made it through Madison. You endured years of his abuse. You can definitely do this. Remember your mother, Dr. Holbrook urged. Remember Helen's strength. It is inside you too. Secret she kept, and the sorrow she must have felt. She thought of the sister she never knew and had now found. She thought of the father she was just meeting, who was watching over her from his bench. She found a deep well of strength she never knew she had. "One more really big push," Dr. Anderson urged. "I can see the head." Sarah pushed with the very last of her strength, letting out a primal scream. And then, all at once, the pressure was gone, replaced by a small but mighty cry. "You have a boy," Dr. Anderson said, laying the squirming infant on Sarah's chest. "Perfect, healthy baby boy." Sarah gazed at her son, her eyes filled with happy tears. He was tiny but perfect, with a thick crop of dark hair and little fists waving around. He stopped crying, as if he knew the sound of her heart. "He's absolutely beautiful," Emma whispered, tears falling down her cheeks. "What will you name him?" But nothing felt right. Looking at him now, she knew exactly. "William," she whispered. "William Patterson Parker, after both of his grandfathers." Emma brought a hand to her mouth, her eyes wide. "Sarah, he should know his entire story one day. All of it. Good parts and the hard parts." Dr. Holbrook gave her a warm smile. "Your mother would be so proud of you." While the nurses cleaned and weighed the baby, Sarah's phone started to ring. Picked it up, moving aside to give them a moment of privacy. Emma returned with a troubled expression. That was Rebecca on the phone. "Richard is with the police. Madison gave them enough to charge him as an accessory to murder. And Sarah, Judge Patterson knows you are his daughter." Rebecca had to tell him to get the emergency custody orders signed. "How did he take it?" "He is coming here now, but only if you want him to." "No," Sarah interrupted. "I want to see him. William should meet his grandfather." An hour later, Sarah was in a new room as William slept peacefully. A soft knock sounded at the door. Judge Patterson walked in, wearing his judicial robes. His face was a mixture of emotions Sarah could not decipher. He stood by her bed, searching for what to say. Finally, his voice thick with feeling, he spoke. "I have 2 daughters. All this time I had 2 and I never knew. Mom never told you." He simply shook his head. "After Emma found me, I thought Helen might have other children. But I never dreamed of this." The judge went on. "You stood in my own courtroom. My daughter was in danger right before my eyes, and I was clueless. Yet you still defended me." He motioned toward the baby. "May I hold him?" Emma gently laid William in his grandfather's arms. Judge Patterson gazed at his grandson with pure amazement. "We named him for you," Sarah said gently, "and for the dad who raised me. I want him to know his whole family." "Helen would have loved this moment," Judge Patterson said, his voice full of emotion. "We always hoped our families could be one." Emma wrapped an arm around Sarah. "Well, we are together now. It is not what she planned, but we found our way home." They sat quietly, 3 generations connected by pain but now joined by love. For the first time in ages, Sarah felt something new. It was hope. The road ahead would be hard, with court battles and personal challenges. Richard and Madison would have to answer for what they did. Sarah would start over as a single mom. But this time she was not by herself. She had a sister who never gave up, a father who unknowingly saved her, and a son who would be raised with love instead of fear. The baby moved in his grandfather's arms, and the judge began humming a soft old song. Sarah gasped when she heard it. Her own mother used to hum that very same tune. "Did Mom teach you that song?" Emma asked, obviously recognizing it too. "No," the judge answered softly. "I taught it to her." Guess she never forgot. In that instant, Sarah realized that love could outlast time, secrets, and even death. Her mother had left her more than she realized. A loyal sister, a protective father, and the courage to fight back. 3 days after William's birth, Sarah lay in her hospital bed, finally able to think about all that happened. Her small hospital room felt like a sanctuary, full of flowers from strangers and protected by guards. Richard's arrest was now a national story. Emma came early with coffee and bagels, a new morning routine for them. She moved about the room with ease, opening blinds and organizing the daily pile of legal letters. "The news is calling it the slap heard around the world," Emma said, showing Sarah her phone. "The video has gone viral, with 20 million views and counting." Thinking of the courthouse camera. "This helps our case. Everyone is on your side. While you were pregnant. Not even Richard's people can fix this one." William started making little noises from his bassinet. Picked him up, still marveling at how right it felt to be his mom. "What is the latest news from Rebecca?" Sarah asked. Emma's expression turned serious. "Richard's bail was $5 million, and he posted it immediately. Madison's was $500,000. No one has paid it, so she is still behind bars, and she is telling them everything. The detectives believe she gave them enough to imprison Richard for 20 years. Now they are investigating him for financial crimes, conspiracy, and even the death of his second wife." Sarah settled William to feed. "Cannot believe he knew the whole time," she said, her thoughts on Madison's words. "Try not to think about that," Emma said, sitting next to her. "Just focus on this little one and on your recovery." "But my mind keeps going there. What if I had never learned about them? What if I was still with him? Would I have been next?" Emma held her sister's hand. But you are not with him. You got out. You are safe because of your courage. Then Emma admitted, if you had not shown up at court, I would have found another way to meet you. I watched you for weeks, trying to work up the nerve. I was terrified you would turn me away. Sarah squeezed her hand. I would never do that. You are my sister. The one I wished for but never knew I had. They were quiet for a moment, just watching the baby. Then Emma asked, her voice unsure, can I tell you the reason I became a lawyer? Sarah nodded, feeling it was important. When I was 15, I was in a bad relationship, Emma began. He was 18, and everyone thought he was wonderful. He was smart, a great athlete, and very charming, but behind closed doors, he was a different person. He was controlling and would twist my words. He made me stop seeing my friends, he read my messages, and he said I would be nothing without him. Sarah felt a pang of sorrow for her sister. Oh, Emma, it continued for a full year before our mom realized what was going on. She had her doubts, but I became an expert at hiding it. When she finally found proof, she did not hesitate. She went straight to the police to file a report. Then she hired the best therapist and lawyer available. So what happened to him? Sarah asked. He agreed to a lesser charge and got probation, but our mother made sure his reputation was ruined. She was like a lioness protecting me. I was actually mad at her, saying she was destroying my life. Emma's gaze drifted to a memory. She told me something I will always remember. Women must protect one another because nobody else will. We are all we have. That is exactly something Mom would say, Sarah murmured. She mentioned you so often then. She always said she wished you were there for me. She believed sisters should handle these things as a team. Now we are just 2 decades late. Emma laughed, wiping away a tear. Better late than never. A knock on the door announced Rebecca Taylor's arrival. She looked like a powerful attorney, despite clearly having worked all night. Good morning. And how is our little guy doing? She smiled at William, who was sleeping soundly. He is doing great, Sarah answered. Do you have any news? Rebecca's smile turned razor sharp. I have some wonderful news. All of Richard's bank accounts are frozen because of the investigation. The accountants discovered millions in hidden accounts he never reported. We are talking about major financial fraud. How does that affect the divorce? It means you are going to get everything he owes you, and likely much more. That is not the best part, Rebecca said, turning her tablet to show them. Madison's confession gave details about Richard's business. It seems he used his company to launder money for some bad people. Sarah's eyes grew wide with surprise. He was laundering money. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is now involved. Richard Mitchell is going down, and it will be a long way down. Emma let out a soft whistle. He really believed he could get away with anything. They all think that, Rebecca replied, until they cross women who will not be broken. Just then, Dr. Patricia Holbrook entered, carrying a small teddy bear. Hope this is a good time. I wanted to check on my favorite patient. We were just toasting to Richard's future collapse, Emma said, sounding very pleased. The doctor placed the teddy bear beside William. How are you handling everything, Sarah? It is so much to deal with all at once. Sarah considered the question for a moment. I feel liberated. For the first time in 3 years, I feel like I can actually breathe. Is that wrong? Why would that be wrong? Dr. Holbrook asked gently. Because I loved him, or I thought I did. And now his life is falling apart. He is the one who destroyed his life, Rebecca said firmly. You only prevented him from destroying yours. He is correct, Dr. Holbrook agreed. What you are feeling is perfectly normal. You are mourning the life you thought you had, and celebrating your freedom from the life you actually lived. Judge Patterson stood in the doorway with a bouquet of pink roses. Excuse me, am I interrupting anything? Dad, Emma exclaimed, rising to hug him. It still sounded strange to Sarah when Emma said that, and their comfortable bond was new to her. How are my favorite girls today? His gaze softening as he looked at Sarah and William. We are doing all right, Sarah replied. Still getting used to having a father. William is eating more and sleeping much better. May I? He asked, gesturing toward the baby. He lifted his grandson with practiced, gentle hands. You look like you have done that before, she remarked. Emma was a difficult baby, he said, then quickly corrected himself. Or, that is what your mother told me. We were together for a short time when Emma was about 1 year old. I held her a few times, then she was gone from my life again. It is okay, Dad, Emma said, finishing his thought. We all did what we believed was best back then. While Judge Patterson rocked William, Rebecca's phone made a sound. She looked at the screen and her jaw dropped. What is it? Bracing herself for more bad news. I just heard from Madison's lawyer. She is offering a deal. She will give a full testimony against Richard for a reduced sentence. What kind of testimony? Emma wanted to know. Everything. Every last crime, affair, and crooked business deal. She recorded all of it. For years she was secretly taping Richard, just in case. Stunned silence filled the room as they all processed the shocking news. She was planning to blackmail him, Sarah said with a calm voice. That is why she acted so confident. Exactly. But she never thought he would throw her away when she became a liability. Judge Patterson spoke carefully. Not speak about an active case, but as a grandfather, I truly hope that complete justice is served. It will be, Rebecca promised. I will make certain of it myself. Dr. Holbrook checked her watch. Go, but Sarah, please schedule an appointment for next week. You will need support to get through this. After she was gone, Sarah looked at the new circle of support around her. Her sister, her father, her lawyer. Just 6 months ago, she had been so completely and terribly alone. Now, she had a true family who stood with her by their own choice. I am going to start a foundation, Sarah said suddenly. Every eye in the room turned to her. It will be for women like me who are stuck in awful situations with no way out. I will use any money I receive from Richard to help others find their freedom. Emma's face brightened with a smile. I will help you. I can offer legal help and connect you with my network of judges and lawyers, Judge Patterson offered. I will make sure you have the money to make a real impact, Rebecca said with a determined smile. William made a little noise, and Sarah looked down at her son. Your father is a selfish criminal, but you will be raised by people who stand up for what is right. You are going to learn that true strength is not about controlling people. It is about helping them rise. The afternoon light streamed through the hospital windows as Sarah got ready to leave. William, now 5 days old, slept soundly in his car seat while Emma packed the gifts and flowers. The news coverage had been intense. Every major network wanted to talk to the woman whose divorce exposed a murder plot. The car is here, Emma said, closing the last bag. Security will walk us to the garage. The reporters are still crowded around the exits, fixing William's blanket again. He felt a surge of anxiety about leaving the hospital's safety. But Dr. Anderson said they were ready. Wait. A familiar voice came from the doorway. Judge Patterson stood there, looking more hesitant than usual. Could I speak with you alone for a moment? Emma began to exit, but Sarah reached out to her. No, please stay. You are family. Judge Patterson came in and shut the door. He struggled for the right words, which was so different from the confident judge she knew from court. I have been thinking a lot about your mother, he finally said, and the choices she made. Sarah stayed quiet, knowing this was very important. He went on. She came before my court one time. It was about 15 years ago. So you would have been 13. It was a custody hearing. Your father wanted to take you and move to another state. Sarah felt her chest tighten. I remember that. My father told me my mom was being difficult. She fought so hard for you. She represented herself in court because she could not pay for a lawyer. Of course. I did not know she was connected to me then, but I recall being impressed by her strength. Did she win? I stopped the move, but I could not change the custody agreement. Your father had more money and a stable home. Your mother was having financial problems. His voice filled with regret. If I had only known she was the Helen I once loved. If I had known you were my daughter. You could not have known, Sarah said softly. But I should have figured it out. You have her eyes and her chin, and how you carried yourself in my courtroom. That was exactly how she stood there, so dignified, despite everything. Emma came and stood next to their father. Dad, you have to stop blaming yourself for things you did not know, Sarah said gently. He stared at the floor. I had 2 daughters and never knew. Helen was struggling all alone while my career was taking off. I could have given you everything. Sarah's voice was surprisingly firm. She made her choice. Mom was a very proud woman. She never would have taken help from the man she decided to leave. Judge Patterson took a worn envelope from his coat pocket. He mailed this to my chambers a month before she died. I have had it ever since Emma found me, but I have not had the courage to open it. He gave the letter to Sarah. Her name was on the front in her mother's familiar handwriting. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was one page filled with her mother's neat writing. My dearest William, if you are reading this, Emma has found you, just as I was sure she would. She is just like you, so determined and so smart. She has to solve every puzzle. There is one more thing you must know. You have another daughter. Her name is Sarah, but she is not aware of this. David Parker promised to raise her as his own if I kept his secrets safe. It felt like the only choice at that moment. I was young and scared, and I believed I was protecting you all. I was so wrong. I took 2 daughters away from you. I denied them a father and each other. It is my one great regret. Beautiful person, William. She shares your love of justice, but she has a soft heart that can get hurt. If you are reading this, it means I am gone, and she is on her own. Please, if you have it in your heart, please look after her. She will need someone to protect her, but she will never ask for it. I always loved you. Hope one day you can forgive me. Forever yours, Helen. The letter shook in Sarah's hand. She knew you two would find each other. Judge Patterson was now openly weeping, which Sarah imagined was very rare for him. Tried to tell me so many times. We would be on the phone, and she would almost say something, but then she would change her mind. Now it all makes sense. We cannot change the past, Emma said, her voice also heavy with emotion. But we have each other now. At that moment, William started to fuss, and his soft cry broke the silence. Held him tight. Your grandson is here for you, she told Judge Patterson. We both are. How we got here does not matter. The only thing that matters is that we are a family now. Judge Patterson came closer. His hand paused above William's little head. I want to be a good grandfather and a good father, but I am afraid I have forgotten how. I have been a judge for so many years. I have forgotten how to just be a man. You looked out for me in court, Sarah told him, even when you did not know who I was. That is what a father does. And you have been so wonderful with me, Emma chimed in, letting me make up for lost time without pushing too hard. You are both too kind to me, he said. But Sarah saw the deep relief in his eyes. Rebecca Taylor came in without knocking with a grim look on her face. We have a problem. The mood in the room instantly changed. Richard is out on bail and talking to the press. He is spinning the whole story, saying used him and he is a victim too. And some people are believing him. Sarah felt that old fear return to her chest. He is trying to control the narrative again. Not while I am here, Rebecca said with force. I have set up one interview for you with a reporter I trust completely. We are going to tell your side the complete truth, and then we will let the justice system take over. I do not know if I am strong enough. You are, Emma said right away. You are the strongest woman I know. She is right, Judge Patterson said, and you will not be alone. We will all be right there with you. Who was looking back at her with his newborn eyes. For his sake, she could do anything. Sarah looked at Rebecca. Let's do it tomorrow afternoon at Emma's home. I will feel safe there. Emma insisted. Both of you are coming home with me. My place has more than enough space, and you need company. Sarah began to object, but Emma stopped her. Mom would have my head if I let you stay anywhere else. Plus, William should get used to his aunt's place. It can be his second home. Just as they were getting ready to leave, Detective Michelle Roberts approached them. Mrs. Mitchell, I am sorry to interrupt, but there is a new development. Good or bad? Sarah asked, her voice tired. It is a mix, really. Madison is going to testify against him. He handed over everything we need. Video. Richard is facing a very long time in prison. He is selling off his assets fast, trying to move money into foreign accounts. We are moving to freeze it all, but some has already been transferred. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. How much exactly? Around $10 million has moved, but do not be concerned. We are following each transfer. Based on the secret accounts we found, there is plenty left for you and William. Never about money, Sarah said softly. Never was. I just want to see justice served. You will get both, Judge Patterson declared, his voice full of authority. I will have to step away from his criminal trial, but my associates will see that justice is done. Walking to the garage with her family and guards, Sarah felt a surprising calm. The person she thought she loved was a complete monster. But out of the ruins of her old life, something better had emerged. I am so grateful, she told Emma when they got to the car. For what? For locating me. For being my sister. For staying so tough. Emma hugged her gently. Careful not to disturb William. We do not give up on family. That is what Mom always taught us. Judge Patterson put their luggage in the back, looking less like a respected judge and more like a typical grandpa. Helen would be just so proud, he said quietly, of you both. Emma's home was stunning. It was large and stylish, but still felt cozy, with pictures filling every single wall. Sarah realized many photos were of her, ones Emma had sourced or their mother had mailed through the years. It felt like viewing her own life from someone else's perspective. Here you are at your high school graduation, Emma pointed out, holding a picture. Mom was just overjoyed. She wept for hours afterward. Sarah lightly traced the image with her finger. That girl seemed so young, filled with so many dreams. Used to think she kept her distance because she did not care about me. Your father prevented her from seeing you. He would stand across the street just to get a glimpse of you. Her television appearance was just 2 hours away. Rebecca went over questions with Sarah, but she felt unprepared to tell the world what happened. The journalist, Patricia Chen, arrived while William was feeding. She was a woman around 40 years old, with a gentle expression, known for handling difficult subjects with compassion. "Thank you for trusting me with this," Patricia said while setting up. "Please know that you have all the control. We can pause whenever you need to," holding William a bit closer. Her sister Emma sat right beside her. Judge Patterson was standing behind the couch, while Rebecca stood in Sarah's line of sight for support. "Why do not we start from the beginning?" Patricia suggested softly. "When did you first meet Richard Mitchell?" Sarah drew in a deep breath and began her story. "I was 25 years old and volunteering at a charity function. He was charming and so successful. Everything I imagined I wanted in a partner. He pursued me with great intensity. There were bouquets, lavish gifts, and spontaneous trips. I believed it was all very romantic. Today, I understand it was just love bombing. When did things start to go wrong? It was a slow process, so slow that I did not see the warnings at first. He told me my friends were just jealous of what we had. He persuaded me to leave my career, promising to provide for me. I found myself cut off from everyone, with no money of my own, and completely controlled by him. Can you describe the narcissistic abuse?" William's peaceful, sleeping face defined courage. "That kind of abuse is designed to make you question your own sanity. Richard often said I was too emotional or overly sensitive. He would say I was lucky that he even put up with me. If I ever disagreed, he would ignore me for days on end, then act as if it never happened. When you became pregnant, he became furious. He claimed I was trying to trap him. That was when I found out about Madison." Patricia moved a little closer. "Who attacked you during the hearing?" "That is correct. I learned later she was more than his secret lover. She was a willing participant in his awful plans." "You talking about how his second wife died?" While tears streamed down her face. "A young mother and her new baby lost their lives because of them. I knew it could have been me and my child." Emma gently held her hand as Patricia asked another question. "What are your feelings toward Richard right now?" Sarah thought about it for a second. "I feel sorry for him. He is so empty inside that he must tear people down to feel strong. But he absolutely must face the consequences, not just for what he did to me, but for everyone he hurt. And Madison is a predator who met her ideal partner in Richard. They encouraged the worst in one another." Patricia turned to Judge Patterson. "Your Honor, how does it feel to find out about this family connection in this way?" The judge cleared his throat. "It has been a very humbling moment. My entire professional life has been about justice, but I was unaware of the wrongs my own daughter was suffering. This has made me look at things very differently. Will you be the judge in the criminal case?" "I will not. I have removed myself from it, but I trust my fellow judges to handle it correctly." The session went on for 1 more hour. Premature birth and connecting with her sister and father. By the end, she was exhausted, but also felt like a huge weight was gone. "I have just one last question," Patricia said. "What is your message for other women who might be in a similar position?" Sarah stared right into the camera lens. "You are not losing your mind. You are not being too sensitive. And you are not alone. That shame does not belong to you. It is your abusers to own. You are worthy of a better life. There are people who will trust you, support you, and help you get away. Please, I urge you to reach out for help. Better life is waiting for you beyond that fear." When Patricia and her crew left, the family enjoyed a moment of silence, buzzing nonstop with alerts. "What is going on?" Emma said. Rebecca was swiping quickly through her phone. "The segment is supposed to air tomorrow, but the story got out early. Richard is falling apart publicly on the internet." He pointed to his social media profile, which was full of angry, incoherent posts. He insisted he was the victim of a setup, labeled Sarah a fortune hunter, and whined about the unfairness of everything. Judge Patterson noted, "A lawyer would never allow a client to act this way. James Bradley is his lawyer representing him, as of this morning," Rebecca said with a small smile. "Nobody wants to be connected to him now." When William began to cry, Sarah stood up to calm him, walking with him around the living room. Passing the window, she noticed a crowd gathering on the pavement. "Emma, come look at this." Emma came to her side. Below, women held up signs that said, "Justice for Sarah, protect expectant mothers, and we believe survivors." "Came here for you," Emma whispered in amazement. "They came here for all of us," Sarah corrected softly. "They are standing up for every woman who has ever been through what I have been through." The next day, the interview was broadcast across the country. Within hours, it was viewed millions of times online. The response from the public was incredible. Many thousands of women posted their own stories, sent supportive messages, and called for justice to be served. But the biggest victory arrived that afternoon with a phone call from Detective Roberts. "He is in our custody now," the detective stated simply. Richard had been arrested for conspiracy, fraud, and illegal money transfers. Bail was not an option this time. His manipulation was finished. Sarah collapsed onto the sofa, holding William close. The nightmare was finally over. While the court battle was starting, his path to prison was certain. When she ended the call, she looked at the new family around her. I am going to the courthouse, Sarah declared. Emma asked, "What is the reason?" "I have to witness him in handcuffs," Sarah explained. "I need to look straight into his eyes." Judge Patterson got to his feet and said, "In that case, we are all coming." Media vans and supporters swarmed the building. When they arrived, the crowd made way for them. Women reached out, touching Sarah's arm and whispering supportive words. They were led to a vantage point inside to see Richard being brought in. He was wearing shackles. His tailored suit was a mess, and his face was drawn and pale. When he caught sight of Sarah, he tried to charge at her, but officers held him tight. "You did this to me," he shrieked. "You wrecked my entire life." Sarah stepped forward, holding William close, flanked by Emma and Judge Patterson. "No, Richard. You did all of this to yourself. Every choice you made, every harsh thing you said, every crime you committed, it was all your doing." He yelled back, "You are nothing without me. You were nobody before me, and you will be nobody again." A real smile spread across Sarah's face, which seemed to throw him off completely. "That is where you are mistaken. I was someone long before you tried to break me. And I am certainly someone now. I am a survivor. A mother, a sister, and a daughter. And now I am free at last." While the officers dragged him off as he continued to yell, Sarah faced her family. "Let us go home." The crowd outside had grown even larger. A single clap began, followed by another, until it grew into a roar of applause. Standing on the courthouse steps, where her life had turned upside down, Sarah raised her hand to show her gratitude. "Sarah, Sarah, Sarah." The crowd was chanting her name over and over. "You are now a symbol of hope for a lot of people," Emma said quietly. "Then I must try my best to deserve that," Sarah replied. Just then, Rebecca approached them. "The foundation documents are prepared for you. Madison wants to have a meeting." A tight feeling grew in Sarah's stomach. "For what reason?" "She says she has some critical information to share. It concerns your mother." They arranged to meet Madison the next week at the county jail. Unsure about going, but hearing it was about her mother made up her mind. Emma insisted on accompanying her, and Rebecca arranged for security. In her orange jumpsuit, Madison was a completely different person. She looked tiny without her designer outfits and perfect makeup, but her eyes were still just as cold and strategic. "Thank you for coming," Madison began, her tone missing its typical venom. "I am giving you 5 minutes," Sarah replied coldly. Madison gave a humorless laugh. "Always the perfect lady. That is what Richard liked about you in the beginning. The ideal trophy who would never dare to question him. You have 4 minutes and 40 seconds left. Your mother paid me a visit around 2 years ago. Felt like she could not breathe. That is impossible. She was already sick then, but hid it well. She was aware of everything with Richard and me. She had hired a private investigator." Emma leaned forward. "Why in the world would she visit you?" "Came to give me a warning. Can you even imagine? She wanted to warn me about Richard. She saw what became of his second wife, guessed what we did, and would not allow another woman to die." Sarah's hands began to shake. "My mother tried to help you, and I laughed in her face. I called her a pathetic old woman whose daughter had found a superior man. But she said something to me that I never forgot. Women like you think you are the hunters, but you are just another one of his victims. He will eventually turn on you." "She was right about that," Emma said quietly. Madison's expression twisted with a bad memory. "She offered me her card. She said to contact her if I needed help. I threw it away. But her words came back to me when Richard left me in court." "Why tell me all this now?" Sarah asked. "Because your mother saw the whole picture, and I think you should know. She knew what Richard was, and she knew what I was, but she still tried to save everyone, including me. I cannot understand that kind of strength." Madison pulled a small key from her pocket. "She gave me this. She told me to give this to you if anything ever happened to her. I kept it. I'm not sure why." Guard allowed Rebecca to take the key and pass it to Sarah. It was a small brass key with a number carved on it. "This belongs to a safety deposit box at a bank," Rebecca noted. "It seems to be from First National Bank." Then looked up at Madison. "Is this some kind of trick?" "This is no trick. Your mother was the only person who saw me as a human being, not as an opponent or a tool. This is the least I can do for her." Leaving the jail, Sarah held the key tightly in her hand. "We need to go to the bank right now." First National Bank was a historic building downtown with marble floors and dark wood paneling. The manager recognized Judge Patterson and granted them immediate access. In a private viewing room, Sarah unlocked the box, her hands trembling. Inside were papers, some photographs, and a letter addressed to her. "My dearest Sarah, if you are seeing this letter, then I am gone and you have met with Madison. I can only hope she passed this key to you as I asked, but I know it was a long shot. I have been looking into Richard for the past 2 years. I hired investigators, gathered proof, and wrote it all down. I understood what he could do, but I knew you would not listen. Your love for him blinded you, so I helped in the only way I could. The evidence in this box is enough for you to get a divorce or press criminal charges. There are audio files, photos, records of his financial crimes, and testimony from his other victims. I put something else in here for you too. It is a document that proves who you really are. Your real father is William Patterson. I enclosed the DNA test results from when you were a baby. I am so sorry I kept this from you, but I was just a scared young woman who thought she was keeping people safe. Please know that everything I have ever done was out of love. You meant everything to me. You are my greatest accomplishment. Stay strong, my sweet girl. You have many people on your side. All my love, Mom. Completely overwhelmed. Emma immediately snatched the documents and began to read them. Believable. It is all the proof we need. There were pictures of Richard with notorious criminals. There were recordings of him arranging illegal financial deals and details on the death of his second wife. Her mother had put together a complete case. Judge Patterson looked at the DNA results. This test is 28 years old. She knew all this time and protected the evidence. Rebecca was already on her phone. I am sending copies to Detective Roberts. This is a treasure trove of information. But Sarah was focused on another letter. This one was addressed to Emma and was very brief. I am certain you will find Sarah one day. You are too determined not to. Please watch over her. She lacks your fighting spirit, your determination. Be the sister I never allowed you to be. Love, Helen. Emma started to cry while holding the note. He knew I would find you. He planned every bit of this, Sarah said, amazed. He was protecting us, even from beyond the grave. A gentle tap came at the door. The bank manager came in, looking worried. Judge Patterson, a Mr. Mitchell has arrived. He is demanding that we give him this box. Sarah spoke up to correct him, his ex-wife. He has no claim to this box. Shall I call for security? Judge Patterson rose. No, I can take care of this. He stepped out into the hall, and his voice was firm and cold. Mr. Mitchell, you are breaking a court order by being within 500 feet of Sarah. You have 30 seconds to exit the building, or I will have you arrested. They heard no reply from Richard, only his hasty retreat. Judge Patterson came back inside. He is gone, but now he is aware that we know. Her voice now firm and strong. Let him be nervous. Later that night, they met at Emma's place to examine everything in the box. The evidence against him was solid. Richard would probably be in prison for the remainder of his life. However, the personal things in the box moved Sarah the most. There were pictures of her mother at school events, her recitals, and her wedding, always observing from afar. He had been there all along, a silent guardian, when Sarah never even knew. He was looking over me this whole time, Sarah whispered. William started to fuss, and Sarah lifted him from his carrier. Holding him in her arms, she felt a connection to her mother. She felt her mother's love and approval. We can start a foundation with this, Sarah declared unexpectedly. These papers show the location of Richard's hidden assets. When we get it back, it can help countless women. We can call it the Helen Parker Foundation, Emma proposed, to help women leaving abusive situations. Perfect idea, Judge Patterson said with a nod. Your mother's legacy of protecting people will not end. While they made their plans, Sarah felt something change inside her. She was no longer a victim, fighter, just like her mother and Emma. Her pain was now becoming her purpose. Her phone vibrated. A text had arrived from an unknown number. Rebecca read it over her shoulder. It says, "This is not over. It is from Richard. He is getting desperate." That is good, Sarah said, surprised by her own calmness. He has no power over us now. My mother made sure of that. She looked at her family, her new source of strength, and her future. Richard's attempt to break her had only set her free. 2 months later, Sarah was in the courthouse again, but this time she held her head high. 3-month-old William was in Emma's arms, and Judge Patterson stood by her side. The trial was about to start, and she was the main witness. The crowd of reporters was much larger this time. Her ordeal had become a global news story. A pregnant woman attacked in court finds her true family and exposes a killer. The narrative had all the elements: drama, justice, and a villain that everyone was eager to hate. You do not have to do this, Rebecca told her for the 10th time. The proof your mother left is more than enough to put him away. I have to do this, Sarah answered, for my own peace of mind and for all the other people he has harmed. Every seat in the courtroom was filled. Richard sat at the defense table with a new lawyer, looking gaunt and full of rage. Madison was on trial separately and had made a deal to testify against him for a lesser punishment. Was known for his careful preparation and intense style. He assured Sarah that with her mother's proof and Madison's account, A guilty verdict was very likely. Prosecution wishes to call Sarah Mitchell to the stand, even ensure. She had rehearsed this in her mind with her therapist, seeing herself as strong and composed. After being sworn in, she sat and looked straight at Richard for the first time since his arrest. He tried to stare her down with a glare, but she met his gaze without flinching. "Mrs. Mitchell," Morrison said, "can you please tell us about your marriage to the man at that table?" Sarah's voice was firm as she shared the story of how his powerful love twisted into isolation and then cruelty. She spoke of the financial restraints, the mental manipulation, and the constant belittling that wore down her spirit. "He would say that I was lucky he chose me," she said. "He told me no one else would want somebody so worthless. He said it so often I started to believe it." "And when did you discover the affair?" 6 months before our divorce was final. I discovered text messages between him and Madison Cole, who also goes by the name Madison Williams. "And what was your feeling upon that discovery?" "I was heartbroken, but at the same time I felt a strange sense of freedom. It gave me a solid reason to leave that others could understand. It was much more difficult to explain leaving due to emotional abuse, even to myself." Morrison then presented the proof, which consisted of photos, audio recordings, and financial papers. Each piece of evidence created a picture of Richard as a skillful manipulator who used his charm and wealth to ruin lives. "Mrs. Mitchell, did you know what happened to the defendant's second wife?" "Not until Madison told me. But looking back, the signs were always there. Richard would say things like, 'You do not want to end up like Caroline.' I thought he meant divorced. I know now he was threatening my life." Richard's lawyer, Paul Stevens, got up to start his questions. He was a young, driven attorney trying to build his career. "Mrs. Mitchell, is it not a fact you married my client for his money?" Sarah said. "No, I married him because I thought he loved me." The lawyer continued. "But you enjoyed the lifestyle his money gave you." She replied, "I enjoyed making a life with the man I thought was my partner. The money was not the most important thing." He responded, "Yet, you are here today, demanding a very large divorce payment." Sarah's voice became firmer. "I am demanding what I am owed after years of being his wife, hostess, and supporter. More importantly, I am demanding support for our son, who has a right to be cared for by his father. A son my client says is not his." Sarah could feel Emma's tension beside her, but she herself stayed calm. "Richard knows William is his son. A DNA test has already proven it. Denying it is just his latest attempt to run from his duties." Stevens tried a few other tactics, but Sarah was ready for all of them. She answered all of his questions with honesty and grace, never breaking her composure. Finally, Morrison stood once more. "Mrs. Mitchell, how has this whole ordeal affected you?" Sarah took a second to think. "It broke the person I was, but it forged me into the person I was always meant to be. I found a family I never knew I had. I discovered a strength inside me I did not know existed. And I have learned that women who help each other can defeat even the most terrible of men." When she took her seat, Madison was brought in to testify. Their eyes met for a moment and Madison gave a small nod, a gesture of respect. It was a predator admitting its prey had become a hunter. Madison's testimony was crushing for Richard. He laid out every crime, every scheme, and every lie. He even played tapes of Richard talking about his second wife's death and his illegal money matters. He had a plan to ruin Sarah if she did not agree to his divorce terms. He said pregnant women were simple to manipulate. Madison said, her voice without emotion. He said that a single push down a flight of stairs would fix the problem. Moved through the courtroom. Few of the jurors looked pale. Did he ever say he would do that to Sarah Mitchell? Yes, he did. She confirmed that he threatened to take care of her just like he did with Caroline. Richard jumped up from his seat. "You are lying. You promised you would protect me." The judge slammed his gavel. "Mr. Mitchell, compose yourself, or I will have you taken out of this courtroom. He is inventing all of it. It was her idea. He was the one who did that to Caroline." Madison only gave a cold smile. "I have you on tape asking me to do it, Richard. Tape for the court." Courtroom burst into an uproar. The judge demanded order, but the harm was already done. Richard had all but confessed. During a recess, Sarah was in the hall with her family. She was quietly feeding a fussy William while Emma was close by. "This is nearly finished," Judge Patterson said to her. "He is done." Come over to them. "You were incredible on the stand. Your mother would have been so proud." "He is the true hero here," Sarah said. "Her proof is what will put him in prison." "No," Robert said with certainty. "You are the hero. You made it through. You fought him, and now you are helping other women do the same. Had already helped many women in only 2 months. Emma took care of the legal work. Sarah offered emotional counseling to others, and Judge Patterson was recruiting more legal experts to assist. When they returned to court, Richard testified, ignoring his lawyer's advice. His words were a tangled mess of blaming everyone else, denying everything, and then making angry admissions. Fine, I cheated. Yes, I hid the funds. But what happened to Caroline was a tragic accident. Madison did not understand what I wanted, Morrison asked in a level voice. And what was it that you wanted, Mr. Mitchell? I just wanted her out of my life. Did not want anybody to die. But somebody did die. Your wife and your unborn baby. Richard's face twisted up in anger. That should not have happened. Madison went too far. So you were admitting there was a plot. Stevens tried to object, but it was useless. Richard had caught himself in his own net of deception. It took the jury only 3 hours to make a decision. Sarah waited in a side room with her family. William was sleeping in his carrier, not knowing how important this day was. Whatever they decide, Emma said, you've already won. You are free. You have William and all of us. And the foundation is saving lives. Rebecca added, your story has launched a real movement. When the court officer called them back, Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. He held Emma's hand as the jury foreman stood up. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of murder in the second degree, we find the defendant guilty. On the financial charges, we find the defendant guilty. The list of charges continued. He was convicted on every single count. Richard received a sentence of life in prison. He turned to look straight at Sarah as the bailiffs got ready to escort him away. You, he hissed. Sarah held William close and stood her ground. No, Richard, claimed my life. You threw yours away. This is on you. When the handcuffs clicked, a huge burden left her. The nightmare was finally finished. Outside, a supportive crowd of hundreds had formed. They cheered loudly when Sarah appeared, holding signs of hope. Reporter Patricia Chen approached with her team. What are you feeling right now? Feel free, Sarah answered with a real smile. And thankful. Thankful for my sister, my father, and for my mother watching over me. What comes next for you? I will raise my son well, build the foundation, and help other women find their own freedom. What would you say to women in the same position? Sarah faced the camera head on. You have more strength than you know. Your abuser needs you to feel weak. It is not true. They live off your power. Reclaim it. Leave. If you must run, then run. Help is waiting for you. Later that night, everyone came together at Judge Patterson's home. He rarely used the lovely house, but tonight it felt like a family home. Emma brought a few things, planning to stay over often. There was always a room prepared for Sarah and William. I never imagined I would have this, Judge Patterson said, holding the sleeping William. A real family. Grandchildren. He paused. Helen gave me this gift. I did not deserve it. We forgave you, Dad. We wanted this for us. Emma lifted her wine glass. A toast to Helen Parker, an amazing woman we barely knew. Mom, Sarah added, raising her water. To the mother of my girls, the judge said, his voice full of feeling. Just then, William cooed as if to agree with the toast. Later, Sarah watched the stars from the balcony. Emma came and put a warm arm around her. Do you think about what if Mom was still alive? Emma asked. All the time. But I think she knew. That is why she had such a detailed plan. All the evidence, the key with Madison, how she brought you to me. She was always playing chess. Played checkers. For the first time in years, Sarah laughed a deep, happy laugh. He never had a prayer against her, or against you. You are incredible, Emma. You managed all this, the foundation, William. All by yourself. I was never by myself, Sarah corrected her. I have you, our dad, Rebecca, Dr. Holbrook, and so many supportive women. It is a real sisterhood, Emma smiled. Our sisterhood, Sarah agreed. William's cry came from his room and Sarah went to soothe him. Rocking him in the chair her father bought, she reflected on her past. The suffering was immense, but it made her strong. It made her resilient. Her phone buzzed. A woman from Texas wrote, I left him because of you. Tears of joy streamed down Sarah's face. This was her mission now, helping others do the same. 6 months later, the Helen Parker Foundation held its first big gala. The Grand Harbor Hotel ballroom was full of friends and supporters. Sarah greeted everyone at the door with William on her hip in a little tuxedo. He is so handsome, Emma said, walking up in a gorgeous red dress. You both are, Sarah said. Have you seen Dad? He is inside working his magic on the donors. Who knew judges were so good at this? The foundation's growth was astonishing. It had a team of 23 people. They ran several safe houses. 200 women find safety. The trial's media coverage resulted in a wave of generous donations. The gala was also raising crucial awareness. Rebecca came over with a sharply dressed woman. Meet Dr. Amanda Foster. She has a similar group in California and wants to collaborate. While they talked, Sarah spotted a face she knew. It was Michelle Roberts, the ex-detective, now their security chief. "Is there a problem?" Sarah asked her softly. "Everything is fine. But a woman is here who wants a private word. She says she was a friend of your mother." Curious, Sarah went with Roberts to a quiet area. An older woman with beautiful silver hair was seated there. "Mrs. Anderson," Sarah said, knowing her old neighbor. "Hello, my dear. You look wonderful. Your mother would be so proud. Thank you for being here." Mrs. Anderson held out an envelope. "This is for you. Helen gave it to me a long time ago. She told me to give it to you when the time was right. Believe that time has come." Sarah's hands shook as she opened it. It was a photo of her mother with a baby Sarah next to another young mother and her child. "That is me," Mrs. Anderson explained, "with my little girl. We were young mothers struggling to survive. Your mother rescued me. My husband was cruel, and Helen got me out. She spoke for me in court, gave us a home, and found me work." Sarah stared at the old photograph, seeing her mother in a whole new light. "She was saving women even before you came along," Mrs. Anderson said. "She did it secretly without any fanfare. But she was relentless. Your foundation is not just her legacy, it is making her secret work public. I never knew. She did not want credit. But she would want you to know. You are finishing the work she began." When Mrs. Anderson left, Sarah stood frozen, holding the picture. Her mother had always been a fighter. "Sarah," her father said gently, "it is time for your speech." The room grew quiet as Sarah walked to the microphone. Emma and William were in the front row. "6 months ago," she started, "I was a victim. I was controlled, demeaned, and attacked when I was 8 months pregnant. I thought my life was completely destroyed." The crowd listened intently, not making a sound. "But I learned something important. Your rock bottom can be a new foundation. Your darkest hour can be a new dawn. I was hit in court. My son was born from that trauma. I learned my husband was a killer. But in that darkness, I reconnected with my sister. I found my way back to my father. And I felt my mother's protection from the other side." She looked out at the faces in the audience, seeing other survivors. "This foundation is not just about escape. It shows that a good life is possible after pain. A life with meaning. A life with power. We offer lawyers, safe homes, therapy, and new skills. Most of all, we offer community. Healing happens when we connect." The audience broke into loud applause. "Tonight, I am thrilled to announce our new project, the Warrior Women Program. We are working with businesses to create jobs for survivors. Financial freedom is the key to staying free." The applause grew even louder. Business leaders nodding, ready to help. "My mother, Helen Parker, helped women in secret for a long time. Now we will help them in the open. We do this with respect, and we do this as one." She lifted her glass. "To the fighters here tonight, the ones who escaped, the ones still fighting, and the ones we remember, we see you, we honor you, and we will not stop fighting for you." The room was on its feet. The ovation was overwhelming. Sarah walked off stage and into Emma's arms. "Mom would be bursting with pride," Emma whispered. "She is here," Sarah said. "I can feel her." The rest of the night was a success of fundraising and making new connections. They raised $3 million. That would pay for 2 new safe houses and more lawyers. As things were ending, a young woman came up to Sarah. She seemed about 22, and her makeup could not hide her bruises. "Are you Sarah Mitchell?" her voice trembling. "I am. You must be Jessica. I think I need help. My boyfriend, he is just like your ex-husband. I saw your interview, and I was hoping." Sarah instantly became protective. "Jessica, you are in a secure place now. Let me introduce you to some people who can help you tonight." Took Jessica to meet Michelle Roberts and Dr. Holbrook, who started creating a safety plan right away. In under an hour, Jessica was on her way to a safe house. "That is another life changed," Emma noted as she watched Jessica go. "This is the very reason we do this," Sarah agreed. Judge Patterson came over, looking tired but pleased. "I have reached a decision," he said. "I will be stepping down from my position." His 2 daughters stared at him, unable to believe it. "Dad, you cannot," Emma said. "You are passionate about that job. I am more passionate about justice, and I can have a greater impact working for the foundation full-time. Besides that, I want to be near my grandson. I want to finally be the father I should have been." Sarah gave him a warm embrace. "We would be honored to have you with us." As they got ready to go, Sarah got a text message from a strange number. A chilling sensation came over her. It was like the scary messages Richard used to send. When she read the text, she was completely surprised. It said, "Thank you for saving my life, Madison." She handed the phone to Emma, who looked puzzled. "Do you think that is actually from her?" "I am not certain. But if our work is reaching even Madison, We are making a real impact. They left the hotel as a single family, once broken by secrets, now healed by truth. William was sleeping in his car seat, not knowing the amazing legacy he was being born into. On the drive home, Sarah thought about what was to come. William would be taught that his value came from his compassion, not his money or social position. He would grow up with a family of strong women and caring men who knew that true strength is found in helping others. 1 year later, Sarah was back in the very courtroom where her world had collapsed. This time, though, her purpose was different. She was there to give support to a woman escaping a bad marriage. The room looked new, but Sarah could still clearly remember where Madison hit her, where her labor started, and where she saw her father without knowing who he was. "Are you all right?" Emma asked quietly beside her, just remembering the past. "The circumstances are different now. You have changed." Sarah nodded her head. She was a completely different person. She was stronger, more sure of herself, and filled with a purpose that gave her life meaning. The hearing was a success. Husband was a lot like Richard, charming to others, but abusive in private. But this woman had the foundation's full support from the very beginning. She would not have to bear her pain alone for years the way Sarah had. After the hearing, they met at their new legal office, located conveniently across the street from the courthouse. "You were amazing, Monica," Sarah said. The judge understood the truth. "It was your mother's system for collecting evidence," Monica said with gratitude. "The method you created for keeping records, it meant everything. Journaling into a guide for other people. It was now called the Helen Protocol, and it was the new standard for proving abuse." Right then, William, now a curious little boy, wandered into the office. Judge Patterson, or Grandpa Judge as William knew him, followed close behind. "My apologies," he said. "We had a small escape from the playroom." "Mama," William said, and Sarah scooped him up. "This is my son," she said to Monica. "He is a reminder that good things can grow from awful situations." Monica smiled, the first true smile Sarah had seen from her. "He is amazing. He is also very determined," Emma added, ruffling his hair, "just like his mother." After Monica left with a new sense of hope, Sarah's phone rang. It was Rebecca. "You have to turn on a television," she said urgently. Sarah turned on the TV in her office. A news headline moved across the screen. "Richard Mitchell discovered deceased in prison." Sarah sank into a chair, still holding William. The reporter gave more details. "Mitchell, who was serving a life sentence for murder, was found in his cell this morning. Cause is suspected to be suicide, with an investigation underway." A strange feeling of every emotion and no emotion at all. "Are you all right?" Judge Patterson asked her kindly. "Do not know. I believed I would feel something different, maybe relieved or even sad. Instead, I just feel numb." Dr. Holbrook, who had just finished a session, came over to join them. "Sarah, what you are feeling is completely normal. It was a very large part of your life, even if it was a negative one. It is all right to feel these mixed emotions." William squirmed to be let down, and he went to his toy corner. Sarah watched him play. This amazing little boy was from her life with Richard, but he would never have to know his father's cruelty. "He can't hurt anyone ever again," Emma said softly. "No," Sarah replied. "He cannot." The news story continued. Madison was taken to a psychiatric hospital after she tried to hurt herself a number of times. It seemed she had a complete mental breakdown and was tormented by the memory of her victims. "I almost feel pity for her," Sarah said, surprising herself. "She is trapped in a prison of her own making." That night, they held a special meeting with the Foundation's board. The news media would be requesting a statement, and they had to be ready. "We offer our sympathies to anyone who is mourning his death," Sarah said to the board. "But our focus continues to be on helping survivors and making sure these tragedies do not happen anymore." "That was very well put," Judge Patterson said. After the meeting was over, Sarah took a walk through the Foundation's main building. The walls were filled with pictures and thank you cards from the women they had assisted. There were now over 300 of them, with new requests for help arriving every single day. She stopped in front of a new painting of Helen Parker. It was done by a survivor who had rediscovered her gift for art after she got away from her abuser. "Hello, Mom," Sarah whispered at the portrait. "Richard is gone. This long nightmare has finally ended." Emma came to her side. "Do you have any idea what day this is?" Sarah took a second to think. "Tuesday. It is the anniversary." "It has been 2 years since the slap." Sarah laughed. "A sound like that would not have been possible 2 years earlier. The slap that changed our whole lives. The slap that was felt around the world." Emma corrected her with a smile. "I believe it was the day our family was really created." William came up to them, holding a book. "Story, Mama." Sarah lifted him onto her lap. "Which one do you want to read?" "The dragon story. The one where the princess saves herself from the dragon." William nodded his head excitedly. As Sarah read to her child with her new family close by in the place her mother's legacy created, She felt completely certain. She had won. She had not just survived, she had truly overcome. Richard had tried to make her feel weak. Madison had tried to destroy her. Society had tried to keep her quiet. But she came out of it all more powerful than any of them. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from a woman in Australia. "Your story gave me the strength to leave. I am starting my new life today." A second message came from Texas. "Foundation gave me the help I needed to save myself. I have now been free for 1 year." Then a third message came from Japan. "We opened our own Helen Parker Foundation here. We have already helped 20 women find safety." Sarah smiled while happy tears rolled down her face. Her mother's quiet mission had become a massive wave, traveling across oceans to save people. "Mama crying?" William asked, his face full of concern. "These are happy tears, sweetheart. Mama is crying happy tears." Judge Patterson captured the photo, a perfect memory. It showed Sarah cradling William with Emma beside her, while he stood proudly behind them. That picture later became the Foundation's official image, showing a family torn by pain but rebuilt by love. Later that night, after William was asleep, Sarah stood on the balcony of her new apartment. She had bought it with the earnings from her speeches and book. Below, the city lights glittered, a vast sea of untold stories and survivors. Emma handed her a mug of hot tea. "I am so incredibly proud of you," she said. "For what?" "For becoming the woman you are today. For refusing to let them break you. You turned your pain into a source of help for others." "I had a lot of help," Sarah said. "You, Dad, Rebecca, and Mom watching over me. But you did all the difficult work. But you were the one who chose to fight, to heal, and to lift others up," Emma replied. They stood together in a comfortable silence. They were sisters, bonded by tragedy, who had managed to build a beautiful new life. Just then, Sarah's phone began to ring. It was the reporter, Patricia Chen. "Sarah, I have fantastic news. The documentary about your story just won an Emmy. And on top of that, calls to the domestic abuse hotline have gone up by 400%. You are saving lives." After the call, Sarah gazed at the night sky, thinking of her mother. "We did it, Mom," she thought. "We made a real difference, just like you always hoped." A brilliant meteor streaked across the dark sky. It was probably just a coincidence, but Sarah saw it as a sign. Helen Parker's legacy was living on through her daughters, and she knew her mother was watching with pride. The auditorium was filled with over 1,000 people. Going over her notes a final time. 33. She had risen to become one of the nation's most respected advocates for domestic violence survivors. "Are you feeling nervous?" Approaching her with a smile. "I always am, but it is a good kind of nervous." William is in the front row with Dad. He made a sign for you. Peeked through the curtain and spotted her son, who was now 6 years old, holding a poster that read, "My mom is a hero," in crayon. Judge Patterson sat next to him, his face full of a grandfather's love. This was not just another speech. It was the 5th anniversary of the Helen Parker Foundation, which had expanded into a global network with offices in 15 countries. "You ready?" the stage manager whispered. Sarah nodded and squared her shoulders. When she stepped onto the stage, a powerful wave of applause met her. She recognized so many of the faces in the audience. She saw Monica, who was now a successful business owner. She saw Jessica, who had become a therapist, and Mrs. Anderson, who was still volunteering at 80. Rebecca was there, having left her career in corporate law to manage the foundation's legal team. Dr. Holbrook, who had created their therapy program that was now used all over the world, was also in attendance. 5 years ago, Sarah began. "I was attacked in a courtroom while I was 8 months pregnant. That violent act was meant to shame me, but it actually set me free." She retold the story they all knew but still wanted to hear, about finding her sister, meeting her father, and learning about her mother's secret work. "But this is not simply my story. It belongs to every single one of us. Every survivor who summoned the courage to leave. Every person who offered a helping hand. Every activist who fought with us. We are a mighty chorus of voices that refuses to be ignored." The audience listened closely as Sarah detailed their latest achievement. A law passed in 12 states which toughened penalties for domestic violence and increased support for survivors. The Helen Parker law was creating real change. My mother helped people in secret. Today, we help them openly, loudly, and without any apology. We have aided over 5,000 women directly, and countless others through our programs. She paused for a moment, her eyes finding William, who was watching her with the intense focus that only a 6-year-old possesses. "My son recently asked me why his father wasn't around. I told him the truth in a way he could understand. I explained that some people make choices that hurt others, and we have to keep ourselves safe from them." He considered it for a moment and then said, "That is okay. Mama, I have Grandpa Judge and Aunt Emma and all the women from the foundation. That is quite a large family." The audience let out a warm laugh. He is right. Family is about more than biology. It is the people who show up for you. This foundation is my family. All of you are my family. As she ended her speech, the entire room rose to their feet. William bolted from Judge Patterson's side and rushed onto the stage. Wrapping his arms tightly around her legs, he lifted him into her arms, and he whispered something into her ear. "What did he say?" A voice called from the audience. Sarah laughed. "He wants to know if we can go get ice cream now." The crowd burst into joyful laughter. This was what life after surviving was like, filled with ordinary moments and simple requests, the beautiful, normal life she had fought so hard to have back. Later, at the celebration, Sarah mingled with supporters and survivors. A young woman came up to her nervously. "Miss Mitchell, my name is Claire. Finally left my husband last week. Your story gave me the strength." Sarah took Claire's hands in hers. "You saved yourself. I just helped you see that it was possible. The foundation is helping me with a safe place to stay. I do not know how to repay you. Live a good life. That is the best way to thank us. Live well, and then help another woman when you can." As Claire walked away, looking more confident, Sarah felt that familiar sense of purpose. This was her calling now, to help other people find their strength. Emma came to her with 2 glasses of champagne. Madison's lawyer got in touch with the foundation. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Really? She wants to donate her whole trust fund to us. Called it blood money and said we could use it for something good." Sarah thought about this for a moment. Madison had been released from the hospital, a mere shadow of the person she once was. "The donation," Sarah finally said. "That money can help hundreds of women. Perhaps this is her way of trying to make things right. You have actually forgiven her." "I have let her go. Forgiveness is for my own peace, not for hers. Anger would only poison me." Judge Patterson came over, with William sitting on his shoulders. "The mayor wants to offer you a key to the city." Sarah smiled. "Do not need keys. I need money for 3 new safe houses." "That is already handled," said a voice she knew. Rebecca came close, holding a check from an anonymous donor for $20 million. Speechless. "Who?" "The person wants to remain unknown. But they said your mother gave them help many years ago. They are simply paying the kindness forward." Tears began to form in Sarah's eyes. Even now, Helen Parker's goodness was still at work. When the evening ended, Sarah stood outside with her loved ones. William was fast asleep in Judge Patterson's arms, tired from his wonderful day. "Look over there," Emma said, pointing to the building across the street. A giant billboard was on display. The Helen Parker Foundation, breaking the silence, building the future. Underneath was a picture of a young, happy Helen holding Sarah as a baby. "When did this happen?" Sarah asked her dad. "I arranged it today. It is a surprise. Your mother deserves to be remembered." Sarah looked at her mother's face, so much larger than life, watching over the city where she had saved so many people in secret. "We succeeded, Mom," she whispered. A hand took hers gently. Another rested on her shoulder, her father's. William moved in his sleep but stayed quiet, safe in his grandfather's embrace. This was her family, once broken but now rebuilt, and stronger than ever. The wealthy ex-husband who worked to ruin her was no longer a threat. The emotional torment that almost shattered her was now a faint memory. The financial freedom she had battled for was now hers. Beyond all that, she had discovered her mission, her voice, and her own strength. She had gone from a victim to a survivor, then a fighter, and now a healer. Felt like a whisper of encouragement, a blessing for her future. Helen Parker Foundation was only going to get bigger. More women would find safety. William would be raised to know that real strength is about protecting people, not controlling them. The pattern of abuse that had hurt so many would finally be stopped, one person at a time. Courtroom while she was pregnant. And that moment changed her life, just not in the way her abusers wanted. Instead of shattering her spirit, it showed her unbreakable strength. Instead of making her quiet, it gave her a voice that was heard around the world. As she drove back home, with William sleeping in his car seat, Sarah remembered the young woman she used to be, afraid, alone, and feeling like she was worthless. She could say anything to that woman, it would be this: "You are so much stronger than you think, and this is not the end of your story. It is only the start." The city lights streamed by her window. Each light could be a woman who needed help and who would get it, because Sarah refused to be silent. Her mother had planted the seeds long ago, which flourished under the warm sun. Another woman was seeing Sarah's story and realizing she could be strong too. This was the real achievement. It had little to do with the lawsuit money or seeing Richard punished. The true victory was the ripple effect she created when she finally said, "Enough." Buzzed non-stop. Women were reaching out for assistance, and reporters wanted to hear her story. The next day was going to be packed. More people needed her help, and more flawed systems needed repair. But for this evening, she would tuck her son William into bed, call Emma to say goodnight, and text a heart to her dad to make him happy. Later, she would stand on the balcony and watch the stars, feeling her mother's pride. She would sleep deeply in her own bed, in a home that was truly hers. She felt safe now, and her life was full of new meaning. She was Sarah Mitchell, a survivor, a champion for others, a mom and a daughter. She had been shattered into countless pieces, but had rebuilt her own life. They tried to silence her, but she found her own powerful voice. Once she was all alone, but now she was surrounded by loved ones. This was not the end of her journey at all. It was only the start of something new.